Marcos with the Out of Body Journal, and tonight I'm going to talk about some stuff, and you can ask questions, and I'm all set to go. In 1996, just a little introduction. In 1996, I had my first out of body experience, and that happened after a sleep paralysis. And what I'm doing here is just after 22 years, is just to share some of my information and to help you guys or help you ladies along your path, and to explain the three types of out-of-body experiences as I've understood them. And so tonight I'm going to be reading chapter 3 from this book that I wrote in 2017, and I'm also going to read from my journal here from 1996. Last Friday I read up to a certain point, and I'm going to continue on from there. So I'm also searching for any questions that you have, and in the description of this video there's a link where you can post questions after this live stream. You can always post questions there, and then I'll answer them in a future live stream. And I can, if you put your email there or your country that you're from, I can just give me a feeling for where in the world you are. And okay, so I'll get into it. I'm also looking at the YouTube here for on the live chat for any questions that you have also. So chapter 3 from the book, and it's the title is "There Are a Lot of Experiences You Can Have Out of Body." Again, the book is the Out of Body Journal, or the Golden One. And the idea is that in the third stage of out of body experiences, you realize that you are the Golden One, because you are more than what's in your physical body. You are everything in the universe, and your personal memory of who you are changes. So, starting with chapter 3. There are lots, and I'm going to be reading from this book that I wrote. There are lots of experiences you can have out of body. This chapter is about the variety of out-of-body experiences that I've had and some of the thoughts I've had along the way, but mostly about the variety of out-of-body experiences that you could have. Again, you can post questions at any time, interrupt me, it'll be fine. I'll answer them as I go. Okay, so, for instance, I've gone to the center of the earth. I was at a workshop at the Monroe Institute, and they gave us a destination, and they said, let's go to the center of the earth. So I was able to, during a music exercise with hemisync binaural beats, something to keep my mind active, I was able to get out of body and accelerate with intention of getting to the center of the earth. And as I accelerated, the direction changed. The speed rapidly increased, and I traveled in a new direction into the earth. So the heading of this chapter was, there are a lot of experiences you can have out of body, and I'm just reading to you one of the experiences that I had. So I was traveling in an arc toward the center of the earth, and then the direction changed. So I was accelerating, and then I guess maybe I was on an earth grid, and my acceleration while out of body changed. The direction changed, and I ended up in the center of the earth. And when I reached the center of the earth, in my perspective, my perspective was that there was an infinite area of darkness, and within that darkness I could see some things moving, right? Some swirly things, but mostly as I turned, it was like I was while I was at the center of the earth, it was like I was on a magnetic grid. I was in my astral body, and I was rotating vertically, and it was like I was on a magnetic grid. And what I noticed once I got back to my body was that soon, within the next couple months, I became more sensitive to the energies in the environment and other people and everywhere. So I could sense energy with my eyes. I could feel, and I can still do this after, it's been close to 20 years since then. I can feel the energy in trees and other people. You can kind of push with your vision, and you can look at light, you can look at the star, energy coming from the sky. You can see which direction it's swirling, which direction the spin is of like the energy from a star. Just like you could do with someone's chakras. You can feel which way the chakras are going. So, and then you can sense energy with your hands, you know? It's like chi. You can see where the boundaries are, you know? All right. So that happened for me after my going to the center of the earth. So I could sense energy with my eyes and more with my body. And just checking my phone. With my different chakras in my body. So for instance, not only by going out of body, but also after that experience of going to the center of the earth, which I give to you as a good destination to go, I could sense the chakras in other people, and I could sense them in myself. So not only can I sense energy outside, but I can also sense it within this physical body. And there's a lot of things you can do with energy. And the thing about working with energy is once you're able to connect with other people energetically, you also have to learn to be in your own energy again after connecting with them. You have to learn to disconnect. So there's a term called entanglement, and as you interact with other people, either consciously or unconsciously, energetically, your energies get, energy is, it works on a concept of association. So when you start making different associations, then you start to react. Once you have certain patterns, then you have to learn to not to react and to get separated from that interaction. So you have to be careful when you do Reiki or any other kind of energy or chakra or any kind of work like that, because it's like everything is sticky, and when you touch something or when you influence or interact with something, there's a stickiness to it, and you got to watch what you do. So for about a year, I worked with sensing energy in other people, not necessarily with them knowing anything about it, but I would check in with maybe their crown chakra area. I would just sense that area, or maybe the forehead or the throat. I checked all the different chakras in a person's body, and I would just look at their energies and feel them and see them, like Carlos Castaneda writes about in his books with Don Juan. Carlos Castaneda wrote a series of books, maybe 9 or 10 books, about his interactions with a Yaqui Indian. He was Castaneda would refer to him as a Nagual, or like a person of knowledge, or a seer. And there's a lot of good books there for you if you want to learn more about that way of seeing and using and traveling out of body. That's kind of what Don Juan taught Carlos Castaneda. And so Carlos talks about seeing energy, and I can feel energy. After going to the center of the earth, that's what I could do. So I was more into feeling the energy in the different areas of people's bodies and in the environment. So if you look at a tree, you can, once you develop your ability to see, or maybe you already have it, you can look at a tree, and from the trunk you can kind of push up with your eyes, and then you can push down with your eyes, and you can see which way you can feel which way the energy is flowing, and then you can feel if the energy moving around the tree trunk is clockwise or counterclockwise, and you can do that with everything in your environment. You can see which way the spin is going. You can see if the chakra is locked, or whether the energy is coming out of the chakra, or whether the energy is going into the chakra. So these are some things you can do. So also the energy on a tree may be coming off the branch and then coming down on the underside of the branch, or if there are two trunks next to each other, it might be going up one trunk and down the other trunk, so that the energies can interact with each other also. There are things you can do once you activate your astral body, or your different bodies, your mental body. All your different bodies give you a different skill. So once you activate that certain body with the ability to sense, then you can do different things. So there are healing applications which I haven't personally gone into. I've done a lot of discovery with raw food with healing, and also a little bit, which I'd like to do more with the tonic herbs in Chinese herbalism. There's a lot of healing stuff you can do with traditional Chinese herbal medicine. So, but I'm sure other people you can find out there will talk more about the Reiki energy and healing in a variety of ways. It's just not something I've really gotten into yet. I want to do more of that. So I've experienced Reiki circles, and I've experienced that Reiki is really real. You know, energy in like a group setting can be pretty powerful. But again, you have to watch out what kind of energies you get interacting with other people. Okay, back to the out-of-body experiences. In my first year of going out-of-body, it was mostly just inside my apartment, going through the walls. So if I thought I could go through a wall, it would work. You know, if you're out-of-body and you think you can do something, you'll be able to do it. So the first year of out-of-body, the first stage of out-of-body experiences, which I've labeled as the first stage, is staying close to your body within your house and going through the wall and learning to move and learning to stay out of body for extended periods of time, because a lot of times you'll get so excited and that excitement will bring you back into your body. Once you get out, you might be really excited and then you're back in your body. So it's about learning to stay out of body and kind of learning to maneuver. So if I thought I could go through a wall, it would work. And my belief was, if my belief was while I was out of body that I couldn't go through a wall, I wouldn't be able to go through the wall, because the awareness that I was holding as an out-of-body energy form, as a plasma being my awareness while out of body, would kind of, I guess, maybe align myself with the solidity of the wall, or it would kind of change so that I could go through the wall. So your beliefs change your vibration, and if I thought I couldn't go through the wall, I wouldn't be able to go through the wall inside my apartment, or out the roof, or just you couldn't do something. So in my second year of going out of body, I met a lot of different beings and beautiful beings. So the second year was mostly about guidance and meeting other beings. So you can, once you start leaving your house, that's a big jump, because you've gone beyond that fear level of going out and doing new stuff that you can't do while you're inside your house, and where it's just you. So I met a lot of beautiful beings, like you might think of as an angel, or someone I knew in some other lifetime. So once you're out of body, you can have memories of things that you never learned while you were alive in your body. So you can remember stuff that you don't normally know. So I had all these different emotions that I don't consciously know where they came from. And so it's kind of an exciting thing, maybe an inspiration for you to learn to go out of body, because you're going to learn so much more about yourself in this lifetime and in other dimensions, things that you're doing but you're not consciously aware of. Like when you go to sleep, what happens? Where do you go when you're asleep? Is it always just staying in your body? Are you just a dead slab of flesh just resting? Or what are dreams? And then if a dream is really real, what's happening? Are you just making it all up, or are you actually going out of body and meeting these other beings somewhere, or talking with your friends or relatives, and then maybe it's really happening? So once you start to have intentional out of body experiences, you can learn to separate what's maybe more a real experience, and you can give it more. You can start to try and verify some of the experiences that you're having. So I met all these different kind of beings, and I started having different emotions that I either created in that experience, or that were I was kind of remembering, different emotions. So as my personality, as a being, as my personality that grew up in this lifetime, I might not have known any of the people or beings that I was meeting or remembering. But when I was out of body, I would have these other memories that weren't necessarily my own as a personality, as Paul. So I was having memories, like I just told you. So these are things that you could do once you start going out of body and meeting other beings. And the majority of my experiences I've had out of body with other beings in that second year were beautiful and very pleasant. They were good experiences. Over 99, probably over 90% of my experiences were great. I had some negative experiences also, and like sometimes you'll meet a being that is like total evil or total darkness, and you know, you don't have to worry because no, out of body, no one's more powerful than you are. You know, we're all made of the same stuff, and when you get out of your body, you're mostly just you're just awareness. And if you fall asleep, or your body will bring you back to it when it needs to go to the bathroom. So eventually, you'll be back in your body, no matter if you get trapped somewhere or whatever. Okay. So you may have heard this before, but one time I was being chased by a dark being, and I don't know if it was a dream or not. It would seem pretty real. So in this situation, I don't remember going out of body, but I had the clarity. It seemed as real as if I was out of body. So instead of running from this being, I turned around and I went to hug it. I went to hug this, you know, negative being, and it turned into a beautiful woman. So the beings that are chasing you, or the negative beings that are, you know, that you're attracting, can also change into different things once you react to it differently. Depending on how you relate to them. So in my second year, I went out of body. I met all different kind of beings, humans and non-human beings, and they told me things, and we interacted. We went places, and I don't know if I was meeting other aspects of my soul or group soul, or people that I've known in other lifetimes or my current lifetime. So my belief right now is that we're all related, and that relation, in an energetic sense, it goes to the source. So out of body, you can learn that the source is within you. You know, it's beyond your name. If you were to forget everything, all your memory of your history of your life in your body, and you were just awareness, you would find that same awareness in all the bodies. And that's kind of the third stage of out-of-body experiences, which is about the source, the energy of the source, or the oneness. And all out-of-body experiences, if they continue long enough in the out-of-body training and progress, they'll reach the oneness, or the third stage of out-of-body experiences. So my belief right now is that we're all related, and in that relation, in an energetic sense, it goes to the source. I'm checking the chat, okay? So the source is in everything. You can sense the source in your own being, in your own self, but you can sense it in other people also. And you can also exist in the energy of the source. So you can have a form out of body, or even in your body. You can sense other energies out there. But if we're going to talk about out of body stuff, once you're out of body, you can sense the energy within yourself, and you can sense it within other beings that you meet, and then you can sense the similarity and even the sameness and the oneness of the two perspectives, as just you looking at you, kind of thing. Okay, and that's the energy of the source, or the oneness, or the one. Eventually, beyond the oneness is the one. But as a personality, yes, we're all different, and we all have soul groups, or maybe we all have soul groups. That's my personal belief, and other people have talked about that and mentioned it. So I've heard in Japan that they also talk about ancestral lineage, from your grandparents to your parents, to that whole line throughout history of your family. So you can go out and you can meet your dead relatives, or your concurrently living relatives on the other side of the planet. So you can travel around out of body, and you can meet different beings all over. You know, I've had experiences where I'm out of body, and there's a whole crowd of Asian people around me, and they're all looking at me. You know, and somehow they know me. So that touches the ancestral lineage. So when you go out of body, you can kind of meet your other relatives, closer relatives. I mean, we're all related, but you can meet the people closer to your life, you know. So you can go out of body, and you can meet your dead relatives, or your concurrently living relatives on the other side of the planet. So when you're in your dream state, or definitely in your dream state, but also when you're out of body, you can intentionally, when you're out of body, you can intentionally go out and meet with people. You can also meet with your friends who kind of coordinate meeting out of body too. One of the things I've done, I used to want to try and wake my relatives up. You know, I'd go out, they'd say, because I tell my brother, sister, and some of my friends that, hey, I can do this, and I'm experiencing this. Would you like to, you know, go out of body with me? And they'd say, yeah, let's do it. And then the issue with that is you can go out of body and you can meet them, and you can kind of pull them out of their body or wake them up while they're sleeping, out of body, but they won't remember when they return to the body or when they wake up, you know. I've met with out-of-body experiences, people who consciously go out of body. I've met with them, and then after we return to our body and contacted each other, they've confirmed, and you know, that has been a positive and a confirmation. But I've never been able to meet somebody who hasn't woken up mentally as a conscious out-of-body traveler. You know, I haven't been able to wake up my relatives. So you can try it. I mean, you can go out of body, you can go to where their body is, you can pull them out of body and say, hey, you're out of body now. And they'll celebrate while they're out of body with you, but when they return to their body, they won't remember. So for instance, when people talk about, well, how did people on the different continents develop these technologies? So if people around the planet are building pyramids and or creating different technologies simultaneously, well, how are they doing that? Well, you have to bring into the picture that, you know, out of body and in the sleep states, people communicate all the time, or maybe it's some kind of a mental telepathy of simultaneous activation of thoughts around certain topics, you know, or maybe different people are channeling the information while they're engineering different products, you know. So how did these things happen on different sides of the planet at the same time? Well, once you become consciously aware of the out-of-body experience, that gives you one way that these certain things can happen. And that's one confirmation. So, well, once you become consciously aware of the out-of-body experience, and maybe once we look at the potential for these different civilizations to have at least a few different people with the out-of-body skill to go out of body in these different civilizations around the planet, who have been able, so these people who have been able to go out of body for ages, and each of these civilizations have at least a few of these people, then it kind of gives confirmation that, you know, maybe these things happened because they were communicating with each other and working together. Maybe the pyramids, maybe they were created in that manner, you know. But I've never had any passion to go and find out who built the pyramids, but I've heard of people who have gone and seen stuff, and that's something you could do yourself, find out, you know, who built different things. So you can go and figure that out. You could watch it happening or meet the beings who did it, and you could bring that information through. So once you return to your body from an out-of-body experience, you'll have certain memories, and you'll want to write those memories down pretty quickly, because a lot of times you have to like kind of copy that information into your physical brain from your out-of-body mind. You have to kind of download that information into your brain, and I've found that by writing the most important pieces of your memory, the most important pieces of that memory down in your journal first, by writing it down, the most important pieces first, then you can write the less important and the less important below that. But you want to write what happened as quickly as possible, you know, like the most meaningful information you want to remember. So I've been off the planet. I've shot up into the air. You know, you can travel into the sky and you go off the planet. I've also gone to the planet Mars. Okay, I've been over the planet of Mars, and then I've been on a planet. I've been in two different perspectives, over the planet and on the planet, and I've switched between the two perspectives pretty quickly, and then returned to the Earth. And that's something you can do also. You can go to different planets. You I've also gone out into the solar system and beyond. I didn't really have a direction to go, so I didn't really end up anywhere specific when I was just traveling into space. So I've had out-of-body experience where I remember up to a certain point, and it's just so exciting that I just keep going into it and not worry about remembering anything. Just so you can travel out of body, you can just keep going into it and having fun, and you can know that if you wanted to return to your body, you could and remember some of it, but then you would shorten the experience. So you can have experiences out of body that are just so exciting, and you're enjoying it in the moment, and you let go any memory of what happens. And I've also done those kind of things where I remember up to a certain point and then return to my body because I know I want to remember some of it at least, and I just cut the experience short out of body. So you can go out, you can go into the out-of-body experience and have a little bit of amazingness, and then come back to your body and remember that, or you can go out of body and have a little greatness and then just keep going into that greatness and amazingness, knowing that you probably will never remember any of it, but at least you're going to have an awesome time in that experience. So I've done that too, where it's just amazing, 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 and you can just wake up back in your body and you're full of energy. So a lot of times when you go out of body, you can have like a lot of excitement and energy. You can also have the energy of the environment that you go into, and when you get back to your body, you can bring that energy into your body. It's like and it kind of activates all the energy. Imagine if you're like going close to I went to the center of the earth, right? So if you imagine that like on when you're at the center of the earth, you might get magnetized, or if you have a hammer and you hit an iron bar, you're going to magnetize it. So I was magnetized in my astral body, and when I came back to my physical body, it activated my different chakras, and I became much more sensitive. So all in that same sense, anywhere you go in the universe, if you go next to a sun, I've never done this, but I imagine that if you went next to a sun, or if you went anywhere where there's an extreme amount of energy or a lot of emotion, if you met a beautiful being, you're going to bring back all that with you into your physical body. And you're going to feel it while you're in your body for at least several minutes, if not longer, So that's another reason to go out of body. There are lots of experiences you can have out of body, from meeting other beings, meeting guides, and then you can also meet balls of energy or planetary beings, which don't have a form. The astral body is just one of the closest bodies to your physical body. Beyond the astral body is the mental body, which doesn't really usually have a form. It's formless, but you can sense the energy. And also when you're out of body, if you can float around, and you don't necessarily have to have feet, so your astral body can change form, and then maybe it's mostly a ball of energy, and maybe you have a head or a couple arms, So I've met some balls of energy, planetary beings, where instead of having a physical body, I've been a ball of energy, and there's been different we've moved around each other in certain maybe magnetic or gravitational ways. There's been meaning behind the movements. Globules of energy interacting with them on a structural movement kind of basis. And then one time I became aware while alert out of body, and there were some different nature spirits. Like I actually met some fairies, some of the winged beings, and they were creating energy with their hands. So beings that can create energy, balls of energy, and have the beauty or the kindness of nature spirit kind of things. Another time I went out of body, and around this time I went to go meet another kind of nature being, and this one was an elf. And this is a real experience out of body. Something I wanted to do while I was in my physical body for a while, and one time I got out of body, and I said, with my intention, I felt around to which direction I would need to go. So I intentionally left my body. I sensed, and then I felt the direction, and I went, and I accelerated. And again, the acceleration changed, the direction changed, and I went down a spiral, and then I ended up in front of this being. And I asked it its name, and it said its name was Vaika. So I was floating in front of this being, and it was an elf, because that's the kind of being that I wanted to meet. And the environment was blue. And then after it told me its name, I returned to my body. If you have any questions, you can always put them in the chat. I'm about 30 minutes into this, and I'm going to go to an hour. I've got a few more pages of this chapter. So the direction change. So just recapping that experience, I was accelerating to meet an elf. The direction changed and the acceleration changed. I ended up going down a spiral, and the walls were blue, and the energy was kind of in that same flavor. And I ended up in front of this being. It was shorter than me, and I was facing it, and we were floating in front of each other. And I said, "Hey, my name is Paul. What's your name?" And when you meet these different beings, I started when I meet people in my physical body during the day, I started asking them their name, because asking people their name can kind of trigger that same pattern for when you're out of body. You can ask different beings, what's your name? In the same way that I was asking this being what its name was. So that was that experience. I called it an out-of-body experience because I remembered leaving the body, going to this place, coming back to my body, and entering without any loss of awareness. So I laid down, I meditated for a while, and then I was out of body. So there was no loss in the connection of what was happening. I sensed, and then I went. I traveled and the direction and acceleration changed. And then I spiraled, and I ended up in front of this being. And then I returned to my body, and I was in my body, and I wrote down the experience. So that whole sequence is what I would require of myself to call it an out-of-body experience. And I had over 100 out-of-body experiences like that. And that's the sequence that I recommend for you. Lay down, have an intention of what kind of experience you'd like to have. Lay down, meditate for as long as you want to meditate. And if something happens, if you do get out of body, then go with the experience, have the experience, return to the body, and then write it down. And I would call that one. That would be one out-of-body experience. And that works with your discipline and creates good stuff. So I called it an out-of-body experience because I remembered leaving the body, going to the place, coming back to the body, and entering without any loss of awareness. The difference between the terms consciousness and awareness can be considered similar or the same. But awareness is more a degree of awakeness regarding your personality. And consciousness is more the total, the one being. Consciousness isn't everything. Everything is consciousness. But awareness works with your personality. How aware are you with your the mind? You watching me now have certain memories and thoughts regarding different things. If we were to wipe away your identity, you might still have awareness, but a lot of your memory is gone. If you can maintain that awareness without having all your memory, then that's pretty good. That's what you'd like to do more and more. Less personality and more just awareness. But awareness in this sense that I'm using is including your memory and including your personality. Consciousness is more the oneness. the less personality that you have, maybe the more toward the oneness that you are. Okay, so the difference between the terms consciousness and awareness could be considered similar or the same, but awareness is more a degree of awakeness regarding my personality, and consciousness is more the total, the being which permeates everything. So consciousness is less specific, and awareness is a percentage or degree of myself as a personality. So that my first 3 years, I'd gone out of body over 100 times and had logged them. I put them in my journal. They were conscious, aware. I was aware, and they were intentional out-of-body experiences. So I remembered leaving, exiting the body, going somewhere, doing something, and coming back, and then I wrote it down. And that was one experience. Each one of those was an experience. And I had over 100, I journaled over 100 of those out-of-body experiences. And I had 3 or 4 journals at that time. And what I'm going to read to you next is some of those experiences from that journal, from one of those journals back from 1996. At the time, I had actually thrown away my journals from that. And my mom, I don't know, somehow I'm 42 years old now. My mom somehow saved those journals that I threw away. And she gave them to me. She told me about 2 years ago in 2017 that she had them. And I was surprised. And what I did was I typed them up and I published them on the out-of-body journal on GitHub. And I'm going to read to you some of those experiences from 1997 in a few minutes. So I had 3 or 4 journals at that time. I ended up throwing them away so I could break away from those experiences. So I had like 3 or 4 years of out-of-body journaling at that time, and I threw them away because I felt like they were holding me back. And I threw them away so I could break away from those experiences and go even beyond my understanding in my experiences without having my personality be associated with the experiences I'd had. So that relates back to what I was talking about. When you're out of body, awareness, the more colored by personality it is, the more of your mind that you bring with you out of body, the more of your memories you bring with you, the less or the more confined or restricted, or the more you're going to color your experiences. And in the diagram that I have of the in this diagram, the outside of the onion is kind of if this is a sphere of energy, and if this is the universe, everything in or the multi-universe, the evolution or the involution out of the source, the more a being develops its own memory and awareness, the more it travels to the outside of the sphere. And once it reaches the outside of the sphere, it develops its own perspective of the whole. So it develops maybe self-awareness or self-consciousness. And from that, so on the journey from the center of the sphere or the center of the source to the outside, it develops through selfishness. Because the center, the oneness, it's beyond, it's pure love, and it's undifferentiation. And the further it travels out away from that of that sameness into like individuality, the more selfish it becomes, and eventually it reaches the extreme of selfishness. And at that point, it develops a memory and a self-awareness. And from that self-awareness, from that personality, extreme personality, it can then start the evolution back into the oneness, or to with awareness, with conscious awareness of the whole. It can develop more and more of that awareness. So back to the last paragraph of chapter 3. Okay, let's see. So I had 3 or 4 journals, and I threw them away so that I could go beyond further. So I could develop beyond the experiences that I'd written, without having my personality, without having my selfishness be associated with my, so I wouldn't color my experiences as much. Some of the beginnings of the out-of-body experiences were lifting out of body, and I'd said in a previous chapter where maybe my arm would be out of body, or my head would still, so partial out of body experiences. My head might still be in my body and the rest of my body would be out of body. Everything from my neck down might be out of body, but my head might still be in my body. So there are a lot of interesting things you can do while you're out of body, and also while you're partially out of body. So I learned a lot of things about the world, and you can learn a lot of things also about the world by developing your sensitivity to the out of body, reality, and other things you can do. So talk to you here, and I wrote this book to share what I know and to continue directing my life in a meaningful way. Because there's a lot of venues, there's a lot of knowledge you can gain, and a lot of perspectives that open up once you have at least one out of body experience. So next week will be chapter 4, styles of out of body travel, from the Golden One, and I'm going to go to some of my journal notes from 1997. I'll take a few minutes to answer any questions you have. Take a break. Check over there. I'm going to check on Reddit to see if anyone posted anything, and then I'll continue with the second half of this. Let's see. Also, again, underneath this video, after this live stream, you can always go in the description of this video. There's an area where you can click on it. It'll take you to a Google Doc, and you can type in any questions you have, and I'll answer them in the future. Or if you type the question now, I can answer it now also. Let's see. I'm going to check out one more Reddit page, and then I'll continue. Let's see, vertical awareness. I've posted stuff in the astral projection area of Reddit, and also with the astral _projection area. All right, I don't see any questions. I'll keep going. So this next thing I'm going to read is on GitHub. I have an out-of-body journal area, and there's some links in the description. And over there, my idea with that is to there's a journal of science, there's a journal of nature, there's a journal of popular mechanics. There's all these awesome journals out there where you can see the newest stuff, and kind of you can feel the edge, and you can learn, and you can just browse. And that's I thought, well, maybe I'd like to subscribe to an out-of-body journal, and I didn't see anyone out there with that kind of thing going on, so I created an out-of-body journal. And the idea behind that is just to share an area for people to gather information, and to share whatever they want to share in a kind of an organized fashion. So Tuesday, February 18th, 1997. So I woke up in the morning. A lot of times I go to sleep around 8 p.m. in the evening. Then I wake up early in the morning, and I do my spiritual, exploration. So Tuesday, February 18th, 1997, it was 4 a.m. in the morning, and these are my journal notes. I went out of body. I became lucid during the night, and went. I put my body into the floor, through the floor, and my hand through the wall. So from here on, what I write. So this is the kind of journaling that would be good for you to do. After you get out of body, or after you wake up in the morning, early in the morning is best. Use your restroom, wake up, stay awake for 10 to 15 minutes, and then meditate or lay down and let your body fall into sleep, but keep your mind awake, and see if you can have an out-of-body experience. And after it, journal. So from here on, I'm not sure how accurate my information is, but I tried opening what I thought was a physical door, and it opened. I wandered around the house. It was a big house, and it wasn't a studio apartment I was living in. So I found myself out of body. I was out of body, and up to a certain point, I was very clear about the sequence of events, and then maybe I found myself in a dream, or somehow it was becoming something I didn't know how I got where I was. So while I was out, I saw someone, and someone saw me. And this had to be either a dream, an illusion, or a non-physical being, or just some kind of, or maybe it was an out-of-body experience. So the being appeared human. I eventually returned to the body, woke, and decided not to immediately write down the experience. But a couple hours later, I wrote down what I'm reading to you now, because I could still remember it, and the experience had stayed with me. That's why it's a little unclear now while I'm reading to you what happened. I don't remember exactly what the exit from the body was, so I'm not putting it under an out-of-body experience, but I'm describing it as a lucid dream. So that's like, I had an experience, but I didn't remember the whole sequence. Okay, Thursday, February 20th, 1997, morning, 4 a.m. So the other one was Tuesday, so the first one was from Tuesday, and then 2 days later, again, 4 in the morning, I'm having another experience. And the reason I wrote these in the journal here online, and while I'm writing to you, is that this kind of writing can inspire you. Day by day, something's happening, and when you write it down for yourself, it's going to inspire you as you look back a few days to see what happened. You're like, oh, if that happened then, what can I do now? So as I read to you one after another, day by day, maybe it's inspiring. So think of it that way. It's not so much what I'm reading to you, it's the fact that I'm reading to you another day, and then something is happening on that day. And again, it's like early in the morning. I'm doing stuff in the morning, and you can do stuff in the morning too. You don't have to wait till the nighttime, or it doesn't have to be a scheduled time. Stuff can happen all the time, at any time. And take advantage of the time and the moment. There's a power in the moment that something's happening, and see if you can do something with that magical moment. So Thursday, February 20th, 1997, in the morning, 4 a.m. My head was south, and I was on the stomach. The place seemed like the studio apartment until I went through the door, which initially I thought was leading to the rest of the apartment. Next time when I see a being of whatever origin or kind, talk with it. Ask it, what's the date? So if you're out of body and you find yourself somewhere, start asking questions to find out, maybe this is a future time, or I haven't had a lot of future experiences, but you can find out more about the people that you're meeting by asking questions. So a lot of times beings, I would meet different people or beings, and they would tell me things, but because I didn't initiate the question, the information they told me, I kind of disregarded it, or I wasn't interested in it. But maybe if you ask your own questions, then the little bits of information you get will be important to you, and you'll remember them. So ask questions is my suggestion. So these are things I was writing for myself. I could ask them, what's the date? Where are you from? Can you take me to your home? Are you alive or dead? Because not all the beings you meet out of body are alive. What are your beliefs? Can you show me around? So that's basically what I wrote about that way. That same day, so in the morning I was up at 4 a.m. and then at 7:30 I was on my back again, my head heading east, and I'd done another kind of an audio where they were giving me some guidance. So I was listening to some. So again, I was up at 7:30. I was trying to have an experience again, and I experienced some energy waves throughout my body, like pulsations, and I consciously tried to work with blocks of energy in my body. So that was that experience. A couple days later, on Sunday, February 23rd, in the morning, 7:30, I had a lucid dream experience. I was flying over a mountain range, and I was very close to the treetops. Then I had a lucid dream. So I didn't write a lot of lucid dreams, but I wrote some of them down that related to an out-of-body experience. So there was in this experience, I was with a group of people, and there was a substance we took. like you would maybe a drug or something. But this was in the in a dream state or an out of body realm. So I think the substance I took in the dream helped me increase my awareness of other abilities. I saw a number of different images in my mind of other future and past lives kind of things, like a slideshow. One of them I was a priest. Another I was a person. Another as some other kind of person, and me in another barbaric time period. So I saw myself in different time periods. And there were other images I don't recall right now. So I was kind of seeing myself in different times. The thing about this experience was I realized that if I could have these kind of experiences in a dream while taking a substance, then I got to that experience without taking any substances, and it was just in the dream I used the substance, but to get to the dream I didn't use the substance. So what I got out of that dream was that I don't need to take a substance to have an out-of-body experience. So this was in my first year of learning to go out of body. I'm still kind of learning the ropes. I'm in my second stage of out-of-body experiences because I'm starting to have kind of experiences where I'm meeting other beings. So a thing about the various images of myself was that I recognized the eyes in all the personalities as my own. So all the different beings that I was in these other lifetimes that I was seeing, I recognize the eyes, and you can maybe notice that because that touches on the third stage of out-of-body experiences, the sameness of the energy. I recognize in this first year of my out-of-body experiences, I was starting to recognize my own eyes in the other personalities that I was seeing. Again, my head was north and I was laying on my stomach and my right side. So I've been changing the direction of my body, and you can change your directions to see, hey, how you doing, stupid stop motion, out of body, great experiences. So I've been changing the direction of my body whenever I feel like sleeping in a certain direction, and you can do that too. You can start to develop your sensation. Maybe there's a certain direction that you feel more comfortable laying down. Okay, and then I also I've started reading The Nature of Personal Reality by Jane Roberts, and I started writing down some of my emotions and some of my beliefs. The next experience is on Tuesday, March 4th, 1997, 1:30 p.m. Lucid dream. I'm in a space shuttle. I'm climbing around. So I find myself in a space shuttle, and I'm climbing around with a few friends. And then I follow a man into kind of a hidden chamber outside of the shuttle, and we go through some doors. And behind the doors, I see a military space shuttle. So that's a dream where I'm kind of seeing some kind of military stuff. I'm going to go to the next one, Thursday, March 6th, 1997 in the morning. At 6:30, I listened to the H+ focus tape. So a certain someone created some different music and guidance stuff, and I was listening to this one. And then I just decided to go take a quick nap and try and go out of body. So I had a feeling of tiredness and was happy to physically drift off. A couple moments after that, I perceived stars. So I kind of transitioned to where I could see stars. And this was while I was in my room, in my apartment, and I'm seeing stars. So, and then I'm resting on my right side with my head pointing west. So I know this wasn't physically ordinary, so I looked for a star. I looked for to see if there were more than one star. And I saw that, whatever, let me see. I'm going to skip this one. This is too much of a lucid dream. So, let's see, Friday, March 7th, 1997. I was doing some meditation while listening to some meditation music. I let my mind become engulfed in the various realities. Toward the end of the tape, I became aware of myself in the out-of-body state. So this is an actual out-of-body state here, not a dream. So I was a little offset from my body. I was laying on my right side. My head was east. After becoming aware of being out of body, I looked in front of me and I saw a white, like I saw a book in front of me, and the pages were white. And they had some writing on it. And I didn't recognize the language as anything I currently know. If you've heard me in some of the other videos, I've talked about this already. So I'm just reading to you as I wrote it back then. But I was reading some other language. I couldn't see either the top or bottom of the white pages that I was reading. But the paper was full of close writing. I didn't know the language, and I still don't know what language it was. I looked for an English version. I tried to find, I found myself reading this other language, and I obviously knew the meaning of the words that I was reading, but the part of me that became aware while out of body, aware of myself doing it, my memory didn't understand what I was doing. So I was looking for an English version for about 20 minutes while being aware of this page in front of me. And then I got a big shock. And I didn't feel any pain, but there was like a shock. And then I was back in my body. I heard a sound. So it startled me back into... So there's a shock, a conflict of beliefs. So I was able to do something while out of body, and then I was telling myself that I couldn't do what I was doing. So that kind of shows that while you're out of body, you can have these different memories and different abilities. The larger you, and that's something to open up and work with more and more. So when you're asleep or when you're out of body, those are some areas for you to explore more. So I thought, this is great. Okay, so let me see. I'll go to the next day. Let's see. Wednesday, March 12th, 1997. I was meditating and experienced backing out of the body. I didn't complete or maintain separation. So I had a partial out-of-body experience. I was backing out of my body, and then I was back in my body. Because it was incomplete out-of-body. My head was north, and I was on my right side. Tuesday, March 18th, 1997, in the morning, 6 a.m. I went out of body this morning. My head was east. I was on my stomach. I lifted out of body and went towards my front door. When I opened it, I saw some people outside, so I reverted back I returned to my body. So this is, and I guess I was still in my first stage of out-of-body experiences because I hadn't left my apartment and I hadn't really met people in a clear, distinct way out of body. So I'm still in my first stage of out-of-body experiences at this time in 1997. Again, I'm 22 years. I've had over 22 years of out-of-body experiences. I've been into the second and third stage of out-of-body experiences, and I've had very awesome out-of-body experiences since the writing of this. So I'm just continuing where I left off. Saturday, March 29th, 1997, 7:30 in the morning. On awakening this morning, I remember having gone out of body 3 times. After each, deciding to stay in bed and try it. So after each out of body experience, I stayed in bed and tried to go out a second and then a third time. And I was able to sequentially, one after another, go out of body, return, go out of body, return, go out of body, return. I'm not sure whether they occurred out of meditation, which I did before sleep, or not. So I don't remember if I meditated to have these out-of-body experiences or meditated for a long time, but I had 3 out-of-body experiences, one after another. I went into my neighbor's house. I remember being confused at seeing people walking around. Initially, when trying to go through the wall to their apartment, I couldn't go through the wall. However, I rationalized that the wall wasn't solid, and I got through. Did I become awake during the night and decide to go out of body, or was it after meditating? These were my longest remembered out-of-body experiences. I remember leaving the body each time. After the 3rd time, I have no present recollection of what happened. I'm not sure what time of night these occurred. So when I wrote this, it was 7:30 in the morning. But I guess I had them earlier in the morning, and then at 7:30 I wrote these experiences down. So I kind of remember my experiences, but I'm still trying to understand them. The whole experience was exciting. I woke up this morning feeling rested. Mainly, I remember doing things I'd been trying to do for some time. My head was to the east, and I was laying on my back. I'm going to check out YouTube, see if y'all have said anything. I don't see anything. Okay, I'll keep going. After certain parts of the consciousness had separated from the body, I used those areas to peel out quicker of the rest of the physical body. So say if you get your arm out of body, and then you can kind of use that out of body to push the rest of yourself out of body. Or if your legs are out, you can kind of use that to lift, to peel out of your body completely. So I remember doing this the second time and third time. So during these the second and third time, I used that method to get completely out of body. I'm not sure right now about the first time. The first time out of body, walking through my apartment to my neighbors, I remember telling myself that I could walk through the objects on the floor and not to worry about hitting them. So these are some of the thoughts you have in the beginning. So I remember one time I was worried that I wasn't wearing my glasses, and then I kind of went back inside the apartment to pick up some make-believe glasses and put them on, and then go back outside again. So this is like the beginning of the second stage of out-of-body experiences, where you're worried about hitting things, and you're worried about being able to go through a wall, or your glasses, or your clothing. Am I wearing any clothing? Kind of stuff. Later on in the more advanced second and stage of out-of-body experience, you don't worry about that stuff. You go beyond that, and that's where you start to be more a ball of energy, less and less with arms and legs, and then you're not so much having partial out-of-body experience anymore. You're just lifting or blending or merging out of body, or floating, or going into that. You're just transitioning. It's less. You don't have to think about am I going through the vibration state, or am I hearing sounds in the transition out of body. You're just lifting out of body at that point later on. So I remember telling myself that I could walk through the objects on the floor and not to worry about hitting them. Okay, so I see a message on Reddit. I'm going to check that out. Let me see what that's about. Let's see. Cool. All right. And Monday, March 31st, 1997. These past days, since my last entry in this book, I've been experiencing various things, but not things that I fully comprehend yet. I will write these down when I become more aware. So that's where I'm going to end it today, March 31st, 1997. And probably next week I'll pick up on the some of the other experiences, and I'll go on to chapter 4 of the book. All right, that's what I have to talk about today. If you'd like to post any questions, go ahead. Or if you want to just share your own experiences, we can talk about that stuff for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. I checked Discord also. There's a Discord channel, and one of the interesting things about Discord is if you go down to the left and you scroll down all the way, there's a voice area where I think it's like a chat room in the Out of Body Journal Discord channel. And if you have a microphone, you can probably talk to each other in the voice area. I'm going to check out Discord, see if there's any stuff going on there. Oh, okay, great. Wave Monkey says, what's your take on the idea that reincarnation is a trap? Well, it's a good question. is reincarnation a trap? All right. Well, here's one of my explanations about that. The universe, if you imagine that everything in the universe is one being, right? And this one being exists forever. There's no beginning to it, and there's no end to it. And if you for a perspective on that, if you imagine that the human race, our recorded history, goes back. Okay, I'm going to say a little stuff about history here. I found something on YouTube a while back. In the last 5 months, I came across a channel, and he was talking about that. If you look at some of the paintings from, I don't know, the medieval times, or some of the earlier, after they called the birth of Christ or Jesus, they would use the letter I. I would represent Jesus or Jesus, right? So when these different works of art and these artists would put a date on their painting or whatever, which we now use to chronicle and to delineate time periods, they would write an I, and then they would write a 3-digit number. So it might be I 397, or an I 425, or whatever it would be an I followed by 3 numbers. And then what we've done maybe is that in modern times we've taken that I to represent a 1. So a lot of times we talk about the missing 1,000 years of the medieval times. And maybe it's possible that there was no missing time, and that it's just a creation by the people who created the calendar to create a medieval times. So that's just a little perspective. Maybe we're not in the year 2019. Maybe right now we're in the year 1019. You got to look at if there was a mistake in the modern times of taking the letter I to represent a 1, then whatever that number was, if it was 1425, maybe it was just Jesus 425. So again, what I was talking about is in our times we have this historical record that goes back maybe 5 or 10,000 years, and if you listen to some other people like Graham Hancock, it goes back tens of thousands of years. And if you look at there's some other books that talk about humanity on Earth, evidence of humanity in Russia and also in other areas of the world, where it's millions of years old. They have evidence of humans on the Earth millions of years in the past. But if you think about this one being that's everywhere, that makes up the universe, that you are that one being, that source, you are the source. If you think about that, you are the source, and there was never a beginning, and there was never going to be an end to that being, because you in that pure awareness are unchanging, and it's just an extreme of you in your physical body now are just you're just more toward that outer edge of that personality, which is your awareness has colored itself with thoughts and ideas. I'll bring up the picture again. You in your physical body now are operating more from this perspective, but you are the whole universe. You are the awareness that kind of powers that the energy, the battery for your thought and your awareness, and everything about you is this source, and this source never changes. There's no beginning to it, and there's no end. So the question was, what's your take on the idea that reincarnation is a trap? Well, this source you this being, me, you and me are the same being. The energy, the battery that's in me is in you. And this battery is awareness. And it always exists. But this is only one extreme of you. You this being also has a physical aspect to it too. You have an outer edge. And this outer edge could be considered more physical, or a greater level of selfishness or identity, individuality. And so if you look at it as more of a line, there's kind of two extremes of you, of your experience. And as a being, as you are this being, you can exist at any point, at any permutation, any level of personality that you want. And you're going to exist forever. So reincarnation, there's the universe has multiple galaxies and multiple dimensions. You know, you the universe, your body is huge, and you know, you're the only opportunity you have for life is experience. You can either give up, you can either exist in your unmanifest state as like a pure awareness, or you can exist as a personality. I can exist as more the source, more of myself in the formless state, in the more pure awareness state, or I can exist at any spot between these two extremes. So reincarnation, that's the only game going on in town. That's the only thing happening anywhere. Because you don't die. You know, awareness, this one being, is not going anywhere. But the one being also has a body too. It also has all these other dimensions, all these other elements. Like, you know, the periodic table has different physicalities and different characteristics, and those are your different. That's your body. Everything in the universe is your body, and so that's just you exploring everything, exploring life. So my take on reincarnation, it's not a trap. It's the only game going on, and there's no way to escape it, because you know, you can't kill yourself. The one can't die. The one is, and so as you become more aware, the involution is going out through selfishness, and then you get the perspective on the whole. And as a self-aware one being, as you become more aware of yourself as the whole, then you realize that that reincarnation is a game. You know, it is something, but it's not like you're gonna. It's fun. It makes it more fun. It's less polarized, and you get some people talk about the double vision. You can see more of what's going on, and maybe it's more fun for you to have that perspective. And that's what I'd call the third stage of out-of-body experiences, the oneness. It's okay. So, and that was evolution, returning back to the oneness. To the awareness of the oneness, knowing where you came from or knowing what you are. That's the benefit of out-of-body experiences. All right, about to close down the chat here. If you have any more questions, post them. Do about 3 more minutes, and we'll close it down for today. Check out the YouTube. Okay, looks good. All right, well, nice to see you all. Nice to talk with you all again. Since we're all the same being, we all interact on all these different levels, so I'm sure you inspired me in many ways to talk about the certain things that I've talked about, and I'm just happy to have done the next thing that I wanted to do, which was to read my third chapter from the Out of Body Journal, from this book I wrote, The Golden One, an Out of Body book. And again, you are the Golden One. When you become aware of the oneness, you realize that you are the Golden One. Everybody is the Golden One, but not everybody is aware of it. And when you become the Golden, this is the back of the book, Prince Paul. So Prince Paul had a sleep paralysis experience at the age of 19 that woke him up to the idea that he was more than the physical body. He's traveled off the planet, gone to the center of the earth, and met dead people and other beings. Okay, let me do that. Out of body again, okay? The Golden One, an out of body book, is commentary on out of body experiences and discovery of the self. It describes the 3-stage of out of body experience. This book includes ways of improving your waking life and completing the personality. It describes an experiential science and brings the reader full circle back to the body with nutrition, vipassana, and life skills. The energetic heart is the key. Prince Paul draws from over 100 personal out-of-body experiences and his Nirvikalpa Samadhi experience in 2002. And when you become a stage 3 out-of-body experiencer, when you become aware of the oneness, and you realize that what's in me is in you, and the source is the same, the energy is the same, the source is the same, and that there's only one, it's the same energy, then you are a prince also. You are a princess also. When you get that, when you have the experience and you know that there's one, it's the same being talking to itself. So when I use the word Prince Paul, that means that I'm just a level 3 out-of-body experiencer. I did change my name to officially, so that's officially Prince Paul, which is kind of cool. But everybody's a prince and a princess once they realize the 3rd stage of out-of-body experiences. And I encourage you to explore out-of-body and to eventually realize the oneness. All right, Paul Marcos.